Game journals. Do you use them or not? I have found that in my recent career as an RPG gamer, it has come in really useful on many occasions to actually have a game journal. And I only started doing it, I want to say within the last few years, maybe 3 years. So like 10% of my career as a gamer, roughly, has been as a of course tabletop gamer, and let's just say Dungeons and Dragons player. in like 10% of that time, I've been using a game journal. But what I found is that it really helps me engage with the content, and it has a couple of added benefits, and I didn't really foresee those, but it's kind of nice. Like, what I found is that the first thing that I got, the first benefit I really got from it, was that I noticed that I was way more attentive when I was taking actual notes in the journal. But I've also found that can work to my detriment too, because sometimes I'm so involved in taking a note that I'm not sort of paying attention to exactly what's happening in the moment. So I've sort of gone from like one end of the spectrum and back again, and I'm sort of floating into the middle. And I wonder if you've had a similar experience. What I found was that when I first started doing it, I was like, oh yeah, I should do this. And I was writing out the highlights, like the most important things that were happening in each session. Like, where were we going, who were we talking to, who talked to whom. And anytime I had something that was sort of like out of character, for instance, if two other players had a conversation, I might take notes. I probably would take notes about what they said to each other, but I would note, like, either put PK for player knowledge, or just mark something, out of character, or something that would let me know, if I was reading my notes, that Gregory has that information, but the character might not. And so so that was how I started. I was doing like basic overview notes. And then I got this idea in one or two adventures where I would hone it. I wanted to write everything down. I decided I was going to write down like all of the action from the combat. Like, this person cast a firebolt. Okay, that person swung and missed. Ooh, they got punched in the face by the, bugbear, or whatever it was. And like, and almost writing like moment by moment what was happening in the action. And that took a lot and was kind of almost too time consuming. It felt like it was taking me away from the action rather than connecting me to the action. So then I thought, okay, well, I need to move back toward just kind of taking some of the highlights. Again, names, places, things that happen, the most important moments, and the highlights, and the bits of information that I want to be able to draw on down the road in the game. That was what I wanted to do. And then what I think happened was, because I decided, like, from starting out with like, okay, I'm going to do just kind of the basics, to swinging to like, I want to write down everything I possibly can, and then coming back again, I think I went a little too far, because I had a couple of sessions where it was like, I probably wrote down a paragraph, and I feel like there's something that I probably missed or might have forgotten or like overlooked. Like, well, wait a minute, we did more than just this. Where did the rest of it go? So I think I corrected too far the other direction. Now I'm kind of trying to come back to find that middle ground to where I get enough of the highlights. I want to get all the key important information, and then I also want to, like, any little tidbits that I might want to be able to come back to down the road. And I guess that was sort of one of the weird, interesting benefits that I didn't expect, is like, now, not only does it help me while the campaign or while the game is ongoing, if I go back and just read through it, it stirs up some old memories, which hopefully are going to be fun, wonderful memories. But then on top of that, I've played a bunch of one-shots where potentially those could become a second or third game. Like sometime we might like come back to those characters, and having some notes from like what happened last time, it gives me something to draw on, to go to and say like, oh, well, this is what happened back then, and this is what that character was like, and here's who was involved. So I have like, I write down the other PCs. I write down name, race, who the person was that played the character, and so I have this reference now that I can go back to anytime I want. So I think game journals are like super helpful. I imagine that some people probably would like doing them with like a digital journal. That's not how I have found I want to do it. And I suppose on a certain level, if you do like a streamed game, or you record your games, and either for yourself or for YouTube or a podcast, I mean, then you have it like at least for as long as the the information stays uncorrupted. You have it stored on like a hard drive or something like that, or a zip drive or whatever. But I think there's something really powerful about like actually taking the notes, because then it sort of commits. I mean, you guys probably know this from school, right? I mean, you know this from school. You write it down, it sort of sticks in your memory a little bit better. And I'm always amazed when I watch a game like the Critical Role games, where something will come up from like months ago, months ago in our world, possibly even weeks or months ago in the game's time, in Matthew Mercer's world, where on this planet that they're playing in Tal'Dorei and so forth, or Wildmount, or wherever they happen to be, that they need to reference a usually it comes up when they have to reference a place, but often it's a name or a group. And it's phenomenal how, like, I know from listening that for sure Marisha Ray supposedly takes the most like copious notes. Like, she fills notebooks with her notes. But if you notice, like, Sam and even Laura Bailey are pretty good about having those like critical elements of information, those critical tidbits that when you need them, they can pull from them. I'd love to see how they do it. I would love to see other people. Like, I want to know, do you bullet journal your notes? Because bullet journal, I'm just learning about bullet journals. They're great. They're a really cool way to do it. I might lean towards taking those kind of notes down the road. And I think I want to try doing bullet notes as a DM, but I haven't gotten that started yet, so I'm not sure. So share with me your best tips. What are your tips? Share with the group, because other people read the comments too, not just you and me. So, like, what are your best tips for using a journal, and whether you're for a DM or for a player, and how do you do you write it down by hand? Do you use digital? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about using journals for your games. I'll see you tomorrow. Keep rolling 20s, and remember, it's your game. Play your way.